Greetings from the University of Tennessee. My name's Julie Gillette, and we are so excited that you are here with us today to talk a little bit about the admissions process here at the University of Tennessee. I'm here with my friend and colleague Clay, and I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hi, my name's Clay Alexander. I work in the undergraduate admissions office and work specifically with high school students who are looking to apply to the university. So we are glad you're viewing this video, which means to us that you're interested in becoming a Vol. And becoming a Vol, Julie, I believe you have a tie to the university.
I do. I'm very grateful to be here still on Rocky Top, but I'm actually a third generation Vol between both my parents, my sister, and my grandmother, who are all graduates of here. And so it definitely runs deep. My blood runs orange, but I mean, we've pulled people in. We've pulled Clay in too over the years. And so we're excited to share with you. Campus is the same but different from when I was a student here. It has still this large community as we've really grown our student population to over 32,000 undergraduate students, even more with our graduate population in there. But it still feels like a small community where you can get involved, get to know people that are around you. The community that we live in here in Knoxville is just so wonderful. The faculty and staff that are here on campus are here to support you, here to see you succeed, and it really makes a big difference that even though you're at a large institution, it can really feel special here in Knoxville.
Very true. And I will add, while I'm not a VFL, Vol for life, I am the parent of a new Vol, a student. So I've navigated that experience. I also have one still in high school that will soon be embarking upon this journey. So very valuable information that we're about to share with you. And so, Julie, how about tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, like I said, I'm a graduate of UT. I loved it so much I never left. I immediately was like, I want to stay here forever. So here we are. I work at an office called One Stop Student Services. And you may not be familiar with that term. It's not every school has a one stop. And so we're really proud to have a team of professionals that are cross-trained in multiple areas, including undergraduate admissions, partnering very closely with Clay's team to support students with the enrollment process as a prospective student, but also the current process once they are here. So from admissions to your financial aid piece, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, to the payment side of things and your student records, we are cross-trained to answer questions that you have regarding these topics. We're available by phone, so if you're not here in Knoxville, we are available online and in person in Hodges Library. So we just want to make a large institution feel small, like I already said, and make sure that you have the information that you need when you need it.
So high school seniors, you're considering the University of Tennessee, you're now ready to apply. There's two ways to apply to our admissions office. Our application or the common application. We accept either one. We have no preference for which one that you choose. So we don't weigh one differently than the other when we're reviewing students for admission. There are required materials that complete the application. So in addition to your app, and within the application, there's the required essay that you'll have to respond to. But then there's our self-reported academic record. We call it STARS. And that is something unique to us. There's only about 35 schools in the country that require students to self-report their academic information. So in addition to self-reporting your academic information from high school, all of your courses, grades, the rigor of those courses, you'll also self-report your test scores. We are test inclusive. We require ACT or SAT scores. Again, no preference which one you submit. We do super score though. So if you have taken the ACT or the SAT more than once, we want to know all scores, but we will super score and create your best super scored composite score from your best subject scores, all right, from those tests. Optional items like letters of recommendation, an additional resume or personal statement, not required to complete your application, not required for us to review your application. But if you feel like you need to tell us more, you have a story to tell, there's circumstances that you want us to be aware of that may have impacted your academic profile along the way throughout high school, then this would be a reason why. Or if you just struggle bragging about yourself, tooting your own horn, letters of recommendation can do that. Find people that know you well, can highlight those redeeming qualities about you. That would be a reason to submit letters of recommendation. But again, these things are not required. The required materials are your application fee or fee waiver, the self-reported academic record, or STARS as we refer to it, and then self-reporting your ACT or SAT scores. For my Tennessee residents, if you are a Tennessee resident graduating from a Tennessee high school, there is a guaranteed admission program for our students here in the state of Tennessee. If after your junior year you possess a 4.0 core GPA or higher, or you are in the top 10% of your high school class, and you have a minimum 24 ACT SuperScore composite with subject scores of 19 in math and English. That's important to note. You can have a 24, but if you don't have the 19s in math and English, your subject scores, then you won't qualify. But if you possess a 4.0 GPA with a 24 ACT SuperScore composite with 19s in math and English, or you're in the top 10% of your high school graduating class and you have a 24 ACT SuperScore composite with 19s in math and English, you are guaranteed admission to the university as long as you apply by our November 1 early action application deadline. So again, you have to apply early action, apply November 1, be a Tennessee resident graduating from a Tennessee high school, and then you have to possess these criteria, either a 4.0 core GPA or be in the top 10% of your class, and have a 24 ACT SuperScore composite with specific scores, 19 in math and English. So that STARS that I was telling you about, the self-reported transcript, academic record. So again, we're one of a few schools across the country that do this. So this is unique to us. You will not need to go to your school counselor and request an official transcript be sent to UTK. All right? You will be given the link after you've applied to log into your Vols account and click on the link to your STARS and start creating your STARS. And in your STARS, you're going to be entering all of your courses that you've taken throughout high school, the grade that you made in those courses, the credit value, and then if that course was an honors, an AP, an IB, a Cambridge level course, or even dual enrollment. And what the STARS is going to do is it's going to create that core GPA that you heard me mention earlier, because we determine admission and scholarship based off of a core weighted UT calculated GPA. All right, so again, this is unique to us. You'll want to reserve time to do your STARS. Be aware of your deadlines, which I'll share with you here in a moment, but this is a bit cumbersome, so be ready to dedicate time to completing your STARS. So that core GPA, again, we are looking at your grades specifically in these subject areas: English, math, science, American history, additional history courses, foreign language, and then a visual or performing arts class. And we're going to take your best grades. So for example, if you're someone considering engineering, I bet you're going to have more than 4 math courses on your STARS, okay, that you've completed. Well, we'll take your best 4 math grades. If you took 3 years of a foreign language course, 3 years of Spanish, for example, we'll take your best 2 grades, all right? But these are the only courses, subjects that we're going to be pulling or creating your core GPA from, all right? So if you're like me, where you made straight A's in PE, unfortunately, those grades are not going to be calculated in your core GPA. We're only looking at your grades in these core subject areas. And then we're going to weight your core GPA. So if you have challenged yourself, if you've taken an honors level course, made a B in that course, a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale, well, we're going to add half a point. So that 3.0 becomes a 3.5, all right? But if it was an AP, a Cambridge level course, an IB course, dual enrollment will add a full point. So a B, a 3.0 in one of these courses could then become a 4.0, or even an A could become a 5.0. So we're going to give you weight for the rigor that you've added to your academic work. So there have been a lot of changes with our application dates and deadlines, all right? And so please make note of these dates. Again, you heard me mention earlier, early action, all right? November 1 is our early action application deadline. And this is the date by which, if you're somebody who waits till the last minute, this is the date you have to submit your application. And if you do wait till November 1 to apply, you will have until November 15th to complete your application, meaning get your stars in, self-report your ACT or SAT scores, all right, completing your app. If you do not apply by our early action application deadline, you have until December 15th to meet our regular application deadline. And then if you wait until December 15th to apply, you'll have until January 15th to complete your app with all of those other required credentials, the stars and self-reporting your test scores. And in addition to these dates, if you apply early action, there are perks to applying early. Number one, if you possess a 4.0 core GPA and have a minimum 29 ACT superscore or the comparative 1330 on the SAT, you're going to be invited by our University Honors to apply to one of our 2 honors programs. And they have specific deadlines. So for the Chancellor's Honors Program, they have a deadline of November 19th by which to apply. If you apply to our Haslam Leadership Scholars Program, you have until November 21st to apply. So these are additional dates for an additional application process if you're interested in joining one of our honors programs. And then another perk to applying early, as you'll see here, you're going to get your decision in December. Whether you're an in-state student or an out-of-state student, if you apply early action, you're going to know your decision from us in December, early to mid-December. For those that wait and apply by our regular application deadline, in-state or out-of-state, you're going to get your decision in March, early March, regarding what we've decided based on our review of your application.
So you may be thinking, okay, great, that's the admissions process, but we also need to talk a little bit about cost and money. So wanted to share with all of you some FAFSA information. So FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and it will become available on October 1st, 2025. October 1st every year, the next year's FAFSA becomes available. We do have our school code of 003530, so you can type that in or you can search for us, but we do not have access to this information unless you put UT's school code on there. So Clay talked a lot about the admission piece of applying early action, making sure you get that admissions application in by November 1. So we want to get you your financial aid if you're admitted pretty quickly after that. So once you submit your application by November 1, we want you to submit your FAFSA no later than December 1, so we can get you your financial information in January. So kind of just to look at that holistically, apply by November 1 for early action, complete the application by November 15th, and then make sure your FAFSA is done by December 1st. So you can get all of that completed, done before the semester ends, and then hopefully hear from us in mid-December about your admission status, and then in January regarding your financial aid. If you don't apply early action, if you don't get your FAFSA in, we highly encourage that you get it to us no later than the UT's priority filing date, which is March 2nd, 2026 this year. There are some funds, whether from the federal government or from UT or from the state of Tennessee for our in-state students, that sometimes funding is limited based on how much money they have to give to students who are eligible. So the earlier you get it in, the better chance you have at getting some of those dollars based on that information submitted on the FAFSA.
So test scores, I mentioned those earlier. We're test inclusive, so we do require ACT or SAT scores to review your application. Again, initially, you're just self-reporting. You're telling us what your test scores are. Report all of your subject scores. Don't just give us your best subject scores. I promise you, we will super score you and we will only look at your best scores. But a December test date for the ACT and/or SAT is the last eligible test score that we will accept to be used in our admission review process, okay? So a December of your senior year test is the last one that we'll use. And you have to get or self-report all of your test scores by January 15th of your senior year, okay? So be sure you've self-reported all of your scores by January 15th. And then if you are admitted, you have until April 1 of your senior year to sent to us your official test score reports. So you'll log into your ACT or your SAT profile and you'll request official score reports sent to us by ACT or SAT showing all of your verified scores so that we can make sure that the scores you self-reported are correct and the scholarships you've been awarded, the admission that you've been granted, that all of that's valid and verified before you confirm enrollment in May.
I just want to add to that, Clay, that in addition to it being December being the last date to take an official test, it's also for admission, it's also the last date for scholarship purposes as well. So make sure that if you haven't already signed up, that you go ahead and sign up again so we can get those scores reported to us by January 15th that you took in December earlier for not only Clay's team to review for admission, but for us to also consider you for scholarship dollars as well. So speaking of dollars, the cost of attending UT. So we wanted to provide you guys with some numbers based on this current academic year. It's subject to change from year to year, but just to give you an idea of what it costs to attend UT for in-state students and out-of-state students. We do want to mention that these are direct costs, so these are things that are going to be charged to you from the university, and you may have other expenses outside of what your housing and food here on campus. Maybe you're traveling home for the holidays, or you want to go out to eat with friends or things like that, that you may have additional expenses, but this is kind of the bare basics to get you on campus. Your tuition and fees, your housing here on campus, and then your dining plan added to that. And again, housing can vary from student to student or year to year based on where you're choosing to live, but wanted to provide these rough estimates of what it could cost you to come to the University of Tennessee. So I've mentioned scholarships a couple of times. We just want to put it out there that we have a lot of different types of scholarships. We have the academic ones that we just talked about. You have to have that ACT or SAT taken by December, reported to us by mid-January to be considered. Additionally, those the core GPA that Clay talked about, all of that gets considered for merit awards. We also look at financial need, which again is going to come from submitting that FAFSA, making sure that you submit that with, as an independent student or as a dependent student with your household information. And we're going to look at you for any financial aid that you're eligible for. And so there's a lot of opportunities. There's lots of opportunities in your local communities for external scholarships, and so make sure that you're tapping into every dollar amount possible, regardless of where you're trying to go to school. But hopefully, if you're trying to join us here on Rocky Top, that you get all of that submitted by the deadlines that we've talked about, getting your FAFSA in, and then hopefully getting that financial aid package in January to see what it's going to look like for the upcoming year. And then we're just going to wrap it up here, just saying we've talked about a lot. We've talked about ACT scores, a lot of deadlines. We've talked about a little bit about money, lots of things. But what we're here to say is that we're excited that you are wanting to join us here on Rocky Top, and we're here to help. So my team at One Stop Student Services, eager to talk to you about money, registration, timeline of things, admissions processes, all of those things. But we partner very, very closely with Clay and his team regarding admissions counselors and who your recruiter is. Clay, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks, Julie. We do. We work very closely together. And in the admissions office, there is an admissions counselor dedicated to each and every student. based upon where you go to school, where you live. And so you can go online at this link here, click on whether you're an in-state, out-of-state student, click on the state you're from, and then answer any additional questions. It may ask what county you're from or what school you attend, and then you'll see who your admissions counselor is. And this is a great person to get to know. They're going to be someone reviewing your application. So who better to introduce yourself to than the very person that's going to be reading what you've shared and revealed about yourself in your application. So definitely connect with us. We'd love to help you and assist you along the way. If this is where you want to be, as Julie has shared here on Rocky Top, we want to get you here. And there are numerous pathways to the University of Tennessee. So we hope to meet you, and thanks so much for viewing this video.